Welcome to the Gyrl Podcast, the show where purpose meets inspiration. Each week, I sit down with incredible individuals who open up about their real life journeys, the wins, the setbacks, and the lessons in between. Whether you're navigating career moves, entrepreneurship, or personal growth, you're in the right place. I'm Kyra Mitchell-Lewis, your host, and I'm glad you're here. Let's glow up together. All right, welcome. I am so excited to welcome Pooja to the show. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, why don't we get started by having you tell our audience listening or watching who you are and what you do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Pooja. I am an authenticity coach and intuitive healer. And yeah, that's basically what I do. And I also, as a part of that, I run retreats. And mostly the clients I work with are seeking authenticity and fulfillment. And part of that journey is oftentimes healing as well. And that path to liberation. So I see my job as a gift where I get to walk with people on their journeys and get to continue learning along the way.
Awesome. I love that. So let's get started. So we're going to talk about how you got to this place, right? Where you are today, where you are teaching and helping others to live more authentic lives. Let's go back to your own journey. And you had terminal cancer. Can we talk about how that stage of your life, how did that change your approach to living a more authentic life?
It might seem obvious to other people, but for me, when I got really sick and was in that place near death, and I do like to call it near death. At first, when I started talking more about my experience, I was like, is that fair terminology? Because like, what is that? And, we're all going to die at some point. And some people have more acute experiences where they're like in a car crash or an accident or literally like in a coma, and they consider that near death. For me, it was really just this experience of living with stage 4 cancer and just knowing where it was in my body, knowing the diagnosis that I had, and just the experience of walking around in the world with that, And yeah, it deeply changed my perspective on life. Up until that point, I didn't realize until I got the diagnosis and sat with it that I had been really living my life on other people's agendas, family, society, what I thought I should do, just beliefs that I had internalized about what I thought life should look like. In that space it was a wild experience. And I think it's something it stayed with me. I don't think my life has gotten any less crazy, a little more healthy for sure.
Yeah.
But just still wild. And I think one thing that's wild about it is just the sort of ceremony of being in this place. For me, when I had that diagnosis, I felt so present with each moment, knowing that any moment could be my last moment.
Yeah.
And also just at the same time, I knew that I wasn't going to die. So it was this dance of like, this could be the end, but also I think everything's going to be fine. And this is just a redirection. So I was just experiencing a lot of emotions, deep gratitude, just like joy, presence, connection with people I had never met before, like strangers that I met walking on the street, or nature, the unseen world that, people often don't talk about, like the spirits around us. And yeah. And then essentially, it was a kick in my ass of like, girl, what do you want the rest of your life to be like? Whose terms?
Exactly.
Whose terms want to live it on? So I made that choice to live it on my own terms after that. And had to do a lot of work to get to where I am now, but here we are.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I really think, you said a lot of important things. For one, people sort of, living a life that they think they're supposed to live, doing the thing that they think they're supposed to do, right? It's so prominent in so many people's lives. I'm sure that they sort of living these molds of what someone wants them to be. And I think, you being diagnosed and having cancer and really sort of like being face to face with the possibility of dying, right? I think that a lot of times, even just like everyday people who are experiencing life and walking through it should almost also feel like any day could be our last day. Any hour could be our last hour. And I think like you saying that, well, I get to choose how I want to live. how I want this life to be, how I want to live in authenticity. So it kind of brings me to the next question that I'd like to ask. Like, with the people that you work with, now hearing you speak, I think I know some of the obstacles. But if you could kind of speak to some of the obstacles that people you work with talk about when they're on that quest to live more authentically.
The biggest one, and I think the first one that comes to mind, is fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
Because there isn't like a recipe to live authentically. And there isn't, the whole thing about it is that you have choices and you get to make mistakes and you get to
Mhm.
learn and you get to follow your intuition and you get to listen. And I think a lot of people have these ideas of what they want to do,
Mhm.
but because there's no guaranteed outcome, it's really scary. It can be really
Yeah.
scary. So I think the fear of the unknown is something that a lot of my clients, it's pretty cool. I think like they understand they have it and
Mhm.
they want to become more comfortable with uncertainty. And I think it's a beautiful gift to have, even
Mhm.
if you don't want to live authentically, because in the world that we're in today, there is so much uncertainty. There is
Mhm.
the individual level, like we're talking about, but there's also the collective level of the humanity.
Right.
I think it's a great, when someone comes to me and they're like, I want to get more comfortable, I want to get more comfortable with this. I'm very happy because I think it can help all of us navigate this world together. So yeah, that's one big thing.
Yeah. And I think also too, it's like important. I think a lot of times people think when I'm going to live a certain way, that means they have to do all of it at once. Right. Like I just gotta, I just have to jump out there. And I know, and don't get me wrong, because for some people, I do know some people who personally, maybe they're like entrepreneurs and they want to like, the life they want is like, I want freedom and flexibility. And they may be in a place to feel a little bit, even though they may not feel all the way like comfort about doing it, and there is uncertainty, but they might be a little bit closer to saying, you know what, I'm just going to step out. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do this business. But at the same time, I think too, like people, it is okay for you to make bold moves and small phases, right? Like,
Yeah. Yes, baby steps. And there's no like small is such a relative term, and like sometimes we do feel like we want it all right now and like but
Mhm.
patience, patience, persistence and
Yeah,
perseverance. It's all
yeah,
part of the process too. So
yeah.
it's amazing to know what you do want and then yeah, once you have that clarity, the process of getting there, it's like another.
Mhm. I agree. I agree. I'm glad you said that because I think part of the journey is just knowing what you want, is
Yes.
having the clarity and knowing, well, I'm just using this as an example. It's the only one, back to the entrepreneur one, someone saying, I want to leave my job. I
Mhm.
want to do this business full time. That is the first step of saying, because you've made the declaration that this is what I'm going to leave in a year. You've given yourself like a directive to do something. And then, like you just mentioned, you take baby steps to get there. Like throughout that year, you're working toward the thing that hopefully is going to make you feel more comfort when you do walk away. I think if we could just sort of erase people feeling like it's like all or nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
like
just,
that, like I think like that, and we talk about the cancer journey is like a pivotal moment, but
hmm
what I was gonna say is it's really like when I look at my life as a whole, I was sort of always working towards the things in one way or another that I'm doing today. It's not so cut and dry as like before cancer I was one way and after I was another way. It was like
right.
no. So it's like even sometimes we don't even realize when we're working towards what we what we
hmm
really want or desire. There's so
Yeah.
many twists and turns in life. So a lot of times we're already on the path. We just don't even know.
Right. And that's why there are people like you in the world that help people to realize that. Because I think when you're in the journey, it's really hard because you can't get the clarity and you've got all the thoughts, right? And
Yeah.
at the same time, you have the thoughts of, I think this is the thing I want to be doing, or this is the thing that I find, purpose and passion in. And then on the other side, there's things like people saying, oh gosh, like, oh, but my family expects for me to go to school and be this. I come from a long line of like lawyers, so I need to be the next lawyer. And you've got people sort of fighting that. And that's why it's so important to have people like you to guide people through the journey and let them know that it's okay. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like, I believe you've got one life to live. So you may as well live it the way that you intend and will be happy with living it. So let's talk about you. I mean, you had another moment in your life where you were at Harvard and you left.
Yes.
So that is what is a part of a brave and bold decision. So can you talk about that?
Yeah. Well, I went to college at Stanford, and then when I graduated, and I was pre-med there, and that was really something that was drilled into me since I was young by my family. I'm Indian, and Indian culture, at least in my family. I think post-colonization, there was really this emphasis on education and stability in professions as a ticket to earning respect and
Mhm.
earning, yeah, some sort of way to like ensure that your family is well taken care of. And because pre-colonization, I've thought a lot about this because in my culture, there's so much art and music and non-science, just so many gifts like language. We have some of the most ancient languages and herbal medicine and traditional medicine, not just Western medicine. And a lot of that in my family, at least in the last like generation or so, really started becoming devalued in favor of more like Western or modern ideals. And so, yeah, like I come from a family of doctors, and I always grew up thinking like it's the best profession in the world. And
Mhm.
it's the only way I could help people. Like there's so many ways. There's
Mhm.
infinite
Mhm.
ways to extend, to share our gifts. And yet I thought that was the only way when I was in college. So that's what I studied. And I went on a wild, just a journey, just exploring different professions, because coming out of that experience in college, I sat down to write my medical school essay and I couldn't write a single word.
Mhm.
And that's when I knew that that wasn't going to happen for me. So I just explored other professions and other career paths, and I landed in teaching as a part of
Mhm.
that exploration. And when I was teaching, I was having a very hard time working within the system, the institution of education, and working within all the rules teachers, God bless their hearts, have to abide by if they want to work in schools. But yeah, so I landed in teaching. Schools were not for me. And so I didn't know what to do. And I was like, well, let me see if I can learn more about the history of the education system and the context, and see if there's any pockets where I feel like I could really make an impact while also feeling free and able to like exercise my own agency and really respond to the needs that I was seeing of like learners. So that's why, long story short, I stepped into the PhD. And
Mhm.
when I was at Harvard, I had a lot of really interesting experiences. I met some really, really amazing people. And I felt like the honest truth is, I felt more suffocated than ever in my life. I thought I was gonna like get this whole new perspective. And I did get
Mhm.
like new perspectives, but
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
also, part of the new perspective was like this space and this path of academia is
Mhm.
not for me. And I think it was something I needed to go see, because I had sort of been on this train of like, school and work and more school and like get another degree. I'd already had two masters at that point, like, or no, one master's. I got my second one at Harvard. I was in the PhD program. And I think a part of me was still trying to like find a way to become a doctor and earn that level, a degree, while also pursuing something that I was interested in.
Mhm.
And it, yeah, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Um, it was hard because I excel in the space. It's not like I was struggling academically. It was more that my soul, my spirit was just like, I
Mhm.
felt like I was just so disconnected. And it's
Yeah.
actually while I was at Harvard that I got the diagnosis of the
Mhm.
cancer. So it was sort of like everything happened at once. And it was almost like this ticket out of like, okay, look, we're giving you this really intense experience and
Yeah.
this invitation to reassess. You can either take it or you can stay in this and keep being miserable. So I decided to take the ticket out.
Yeah. Here you go, Pooja. You're out, girl. Wow. I think, yeah, that is a very, very interesting story. But I think it's really insightful to hear you say that even though you were in a space of learning and you were learning more about the things that you thought you wanted to, to dig deeper into that, you said you felt suffocated.
Yeah.
And I just think like there are a lot of people who feel this type of discomfort. And so for you, even though I know you were given what you say was the ticket out, right, through your diagnosis, I know that there was still some fear with you taking that step away from something that, I mean, because you're smart. You're smart. You've gone to school, you've excelled in school, and you seem to be curious and a lifelong learner. So for you to step away from something that feels like it fuels you, and I know you were at that time, you were also fighting for your life. So I don't want to minimize the fight for your life by asking about just the parts of you that longed for like the learning and the curiosity. How did you deal with that discomfort during, that time, I guess? Because I'm assuming when you got your diagnosis, did you step away for a while from a lot of things?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I was at the dissertation stage of my program, and one of my advisors, I only know now that she was a 3-time cancer survivor. I didn't know then, but she told
Mhm.
me, I had sent her an email like pretty soon after I got the diagnosis. And whatever she said, and I remember what she said, it really resonated with me. She said, basically, like, now is not the time to like focus on your work or try to make any, like, give yourself to your work.
Mhm.
It's really time to like focus on you as a whole person and just take some time. And it's someone I really looked up to and still look up to. And so, yeah, whatever she said then, it was sort of just like exactly what I needed to hear, just some support. And so, yeah, I stepped away, but I didn't make the decision to leave until I was cured. And it was about like a year and a half after my diagnosis that I officially decided to leave. I really tried to hang on. And one of the things that really amazed me, and I don't know, maybe others, I see some of my clients' experiences and maybe this will resonate with others, but it was like how quickly like I felt like I changed. Like in one moment, like before the diagnosis, I was willing to be in the environment, even though I felt suffocated. I was sort of willing to just like plug and chug and just like give it my all and like make meaning out of whatever I could and just put myself in the spaces that inspired me and just sort of like work through that.
Right.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
then like the flip side of the cancer, like I remember that I could still take classes. And I remember the last class I took at Harvard was a poetry class. Like I was just so done with thinking linearly, being
Yeah.
being in a box. Like I was
Mhm.
so done with it. And I remember that's all I could really write because a huge part of the PhD is writing. And I kept trying to write, but I couldn't really write
Mhm.
sentences at that point. Like I couldn't even make a sentence. I could only write poems. And so I ended up at that those poems are now in a book of poetry. But yeah, I took a poetry class and that was my last class. And yeah, of course I was scared. I revisited the dissertation and I couldn't even read it. Like I couldn't connect with it.
Mhm.
And so I knew like I'm different now
Mhm.
and this isn't for me and I'm sure there's something that is for me, but in order to
Right.
find that I need to let go of this first.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that because I think that that is so real and that is so true of what you have to do sometimes, right? Like, seems like you weren't going to really get to the thing until you let go of the other thing. And when you let go, then it all just kind of came naturally flowing to you.
It did.
Um, let's talk about intuition because I'm really big on like, that's real. And that's something that I always rely on is what my intuition tells me. How did your intuition and your physical body play a role in you healing? Because obviously you had to go through healing, you had to heal physically and mentally as you were on this journey. And so how do you sort of take all the things that you learned and things you've gone through and how does it help you today thrive?
Such a great question. Well, one thing I think is so interesting is when I was at Stanford and throughout my life, I was always like a science nerd. And
Mhm.
I loved studying the body. I loved studying cells, mitochondria, everything. I also taught biology when I was teaching. And despite all of that, I feel like I never learned how to listen to my body. And it's like I had a lot of knowledge up here, but I hadn't really connected it with my actual lived experience and really the practice listening to my body. And so that is what, really shifted once I, started healing from the cancer journey. I mean, the first question I had for myself was like, I had felt something in my body for a long time and I hadn't done anything about it. I hadn't really stopped to listen. So why did I do that? Just trying to understand like why, like what
Yeah.
happened there, honey? And I think that's so common in our society, like sort of like our bodies do tell us things, but since we're not really taught to be in a conversation with it, we're almost taught to just go and get some sort of band-aid or get some sort of like something to take to just fix it. But not necessarily go deeper into the root or to listen, what is our body saying? So yes, that conversation started. And it was really, really hard in the beginning. I had a lot going on with my body, and the cancer, now I understand, was actually a lot of emotions stuck in my body from really serious trauma that I experienced as a child that I had repressed and completely disassociated from. So as I started like basically connecting my head with the rest of my body, like my heart, and really like working to listen and come back into the body, come back into the body, there was so much there. And that's, I think, what's so cool about like disease or just even anything in life where like we're not sure what to do, but like our bodies know. I just think it's so cool how brilliant they are. And I get to say that now from my own lived experience, not just from like reading the textbooks or like studying cadavers. Like now I get to really say it from my body. Like I'm just amazed at her ability to know. And she really reminds me of the earth. Like we are the earth, like the rivers of the earth run through us. It's like the stuff that makes up the earth makes us, like we're part of the earth. So it's just cool to know that now and to know how to connect and how to listen. And yeah, really early on, I think one of the simplest things somebody helped me to understand is what a yes feels like in my body and what a no feels like in my body. So basic, but so important. And so like, yeah, that's just one little tool that once I knew how those two things felt in my body, I could navigate a lot of questions that I had, a lot of uncertainty. And then, of course, there's just the voices that you hear and the nudges that you get by paying attention to your environment, and your dreams. And so I, of course, followed those as well, which I think is just the unraveling of a beautiful mystery, It's like around the corner, maybe my environment can give me a hint. But yeah, so it was just, oh, so you asked me, how does it help me thrive today? Yeah. I mean, now I follow my intuition more than ever. To the point where my business is like an entirely intuitively run business. I think some people might find that to be totally crazy, but that's just how I roll. And it's awesome because I never know what's coming. But it's also, it's scary, but I trust it now because I've really been through, so I've practiced and practiced and practiced with my intuition, and I followed it to other countries. I've lived in like three or four other countries, and I met my partner and my dog in another country, and where I live now, it's like totally intuitive decision. So I think it's a really cool, like, I think it just shows us that we have, going back to what we started talking about in the beginning, like about our agency and our choices. It just shows me that we all have within us the ability to sense what we need to heal, to thrive, to take that next little step, the next baby step. And so I think that's beautiful, that we have those tools within us, within our bodies, within our senses, and our knowing.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful because you're so right. I mean, intuition, our bodies are telling us things. And you hit it spot on when you said, like, we are in a society where, we just sort of band-aid things, or we just ignore things, right? We just
True.
ignore things because it's like, I'm too busy, I don't have time to worry about that. No matter what it is, from like health to relationships to dealing with people, I don't want to deal with that today, so I'm just going to. Now, don't get me wrong, some disassociation is good in life. Sometimes you have to do that,
Yeah.
but you can't just disassociate from like your entire life and never, like, like, have honest conversations or confront things head on. And I think people, but the band-aid approach is definitely something you see all around, where it's just people being like, no, I'll deal with that later, blah, blah, blah. Or I know, I mean, yeah, my leg, something's been hurting for, like, I've been saying I need to go to the doctor and check that out. I love when somebody says that. That's like my favorite thing. They're like, yeah, this has been happening and I've been saying I need to do it. Then why haven't you done it? I mean, what are you waiting for? For it to, like, poke through the bone, to poke through? Okay, maybe. But it's just really important to listen, because you're right. Your body, your dreams, like, you have gentle nudges everywhere. You just have to pay attention. And when you're not paying attention, that means, like, your mind isn't clear. Like, you can't just always be overwhelmed in the moment, or just have so much clutter. Like, we have to create that space for ourselves to put a phone down, put the phone down, turn the TV down. Don't read. I think sometimes people feel like they have to fill each minute of the day with something. And it's like, no, you have to have that quiet time to, like, sit with yourself and just be still. I mean, like, it's amazing how much you learn, or how many answers you get when you're just still. And I wish more people could do more of that. So I feel like some of the problems that people, like, when people ask me things, sometimes I end up being like the person people are like, oh, I need your advice on something. And I'm like, okay, well, da, 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 da. I'm like, but also, like, just, take some time with it, and just, like, take time, be
Mm,
still,
mm.
chill, write about it, journal, talk about it, pray about it, whatever it is you do, like, do that thing, and just see if you get the answers. Because I find that, like, whenever I, like, pray about something and I write something down and I just shut up about it and stop talking about it, then I get the answers.
That's clarity. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. All right. So why don't you tell everybody listening or watching how they can work with you and how they can connect to you?
Well, I guess it's the same answer. So basically, you just go on my website, it's poojabakhai.com. And if you go on the contact page, there's a little form you can fill out, and it goes straight to my email inbox, and I will read it, because I take care to declutter my email inbox so there's no nonsense in there. So I do look forward to hearing from y'all if you are interested. And yeah,
Yeah.
was that to answer your
Yeah.
question? Oh, cool.
Yeah. Want to know how people could reach out if they wanted to, learn
Yes.
more, work with you. All right. So we're going to do 3 things with Pooja. Now I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Just helps our audience get to know you a little bit better. So the first one is a two-parter, and it's one of my favorite questions to ask. How do you start and end the day?
Okay, start the day. It's different every day. I'm a Pisces. I'm very watery, as you could tell, intuitive.
Mhm.
So I know it's me time in the morning,
Mhm.
first thing, but what I do during the me time is up to me. So
Gotcha. Yes.
I could go for a walk, I could go for a coffee, I could journal, stretch, yoga. Those are the main things. Singing songs. Sometimes I just
Mhm.
wake up and I'm in a sing-songy mood. So we're out here singing good morning songs or whatever.
Nice.
But obviously something positive. Oh, and journaling dreams if there's,
Mhm.
some dreams to be journaled. So
Mhm.
I like to say it's like taking inventory, and
Mhm.
and then also just being happy for the day.
Yeah, I like it. How do you end the day?
Oh yeah, I forgot the second part. And the day, I mean, brush my teeth and stretch and stretch. It's quite practical. I feel like I do a lot of like work during the day, like self work as well. I work with my
Mhm.
clients, but I also do like a lot of gardening, painting,
Mhm.
journaling, meditation, like all throughout the day. So by the time it's like post 6 p.m., I'm done with anything. Just like And
Yeah.
my partner gets home from work, my hubby gets home from work, and we got our dog. And so we'll probably just chill, dinner, maybe tune out for a while, just do something, just
Yeah.
do nothing, do nothing.
Yeah.
And then I'll brush my teeth and go to bed.
Doing nothing is surprisingly is amazing. So
Yeah.
I love that. All right. Now the second question is, what's a goal or intention you've set for yourself this year?
I set one intention, and it was to be more attentive to my inner dialogue
Hmm.
all year long.
Mhm. I like that.
Yes.
I like that because yeah, we have to do that because gosh, we'll say some things to our inner selves. You're like, what? I mean, you said that? Like, would you want somebody else to say that? Yeah, like, okay. Yeah, I that's a good one because I agree with you. Like the one of mine for the years, definitely like more self-affirmation.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do a lot of affirming other people. Like as a manager and like a leader in my workplace, I mean, I spend a lot of time affirming other people. And then I realized I was like, oh, but wait, I always get the affirmation or that I
Yeah.
need when like I am a words of affirmations person is like one of my love languages.
Lovely.
So yeah, and I just decided at the start of the year, I was like, well, I'm just gonna do it for me. So in the morning I start, and I read a set every morning and I've got them in my office and I read them throughout the day. And it's amazing. It's amazing how different it is when you're actually doing that for yourself. I think that's
Oh.
like, I love that. Okay. The last question is where are you currently finding inspiration?
Okay, I will answer it, but I have a quick question is, do you have a
Yeah.
favorite information that you've been reading to yourself that you want to share?
Oh, I have there are quite, but this is one that I've been reading a lot. It says, I will not let my fear of being seen hold me back from my dreams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Well, Pooja, let me just tell you, girl, because this happened this morning. This happened this morning where I had to read that because I was doing some obviously as a podcaster, right? I'm always like shoot my shot trying to get people on this show or trying to pitch this show. I said I was going to do more of that this year. Like I'm going to pitch the business, what I'm doing, how I'm trying to help women. And I was doing some like pitches. And like I'd done a few, and then I got to one and I was like, oh, and I started to feel myself going, okay, but what if they say yes? What if they pick you? What if they ask you to come to the show? And all those things started. And then I started thinking about all that. I was like, no, because then I won't be able to do that. Because then what if people see, then what if people are saying things? And then I stopped myself and I read that affirmation. And then I said, girl, you better turn around and finish writing that letter.
Wow. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for asking. All
Yeah.
right. Where are you currently finding your inspiration to these days?
I really feel like it's just in whatever mirrors are like around me in any given moment. So like just now when you were sharing that, I felt inspired. I was like, oh, I want to write some self-affirmations down that I read to myself every day. Or, it was just like it felt heart-opening to me. And I find so for me, my mirrors are just like anybody, like my neighbors or kids I see that come hang out with us at our house from the neighborhood or other animals sometimes, nature. And I say it like nature, but it's really like nature. So amazing. Um, and my hubby, I think he would like think it's hilarious that I'm saying I find inspiration from him because I give him so much. I give him a hard time.
No.
Um, but I really am just like we live together and he's just such an awesome mirror. And I do find myself very inspired by just how he carries himself in the world and how he thinks about life, how he thinks about the universe and his relationship with nature. So yeah, I just in all my clients and whoever I get the gift of being around, I find a lot of inspiration just in everyday life.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. So, Pooja, let me just tell you, it's been awesome having you here. And I want to thank you so much for just your transparency and sharing your journey with the community today. But I'm going to ask you one last question. And I would like for you to leave our audience with 3 things you'd like for them to take away from our conversation.
You got it. Number one, you know your stuff better than anybody. So trust yourself, trust your gut, trust your instincts, trust your heart. Okay, number 2, do nothing.
Exactly.
Do nothing. And while you're doing nothing, if a lot of stuff comes up, breathe. Breathing helps either way, even if you're just, gonna do nothing and take a nap.
Yeah.
And then number 3 would be fear is normal. Just learn how to walk with it. Just take it with you on the ride. Just be like, okay, I'm not
I like that.
Come along. Like a little kid, Just
yeah, that's really awesome, because I think a lot of people would never think about fear like that.
Yeah.
Fear is usually, people are usually in the back seat and fear is driving. So like, you drive and put fear in the back seat.
Exactly.
Awesome. I love that. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for joining the show today. And you can always come back here in the future.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. All right. Let's thank Pooja again for joining the show today. You can be sure to check out the show notes if you'd like to learn more about her and how you can work with her. If you'd like to learn more about Glow Up Girl, you can visit our site at glowupgirl.com. If you love this podcast, as I hope that you do, be sure to sign up for our newsletter there to access more insights, tools, and resources to help you elevate your glow up. All right, if you're new to this community, I want to say welcome and thank you all for stopping in, and I hope you'll come back. Also, if you've been a member here, just thank you so much for the support. All right, one thing I did mention, when you're on the website, be sure to check out our new merch. I am not wearing the merch today. I know, I feel so bad. I'm like talking about the merch, but I'm not wearing it. But we've got some really cool Glow Up Girl merch there. So t-shirts, cups. I love a good water cup. I've been drinking out of like a bottle, and I'm definitely waiting on my cup to come in. But we've got some cups, we've got mugs. Who doesn't love a good mug? Totes. Who doesn't love a good tote, right? All the things. So I think I got all the things that we like as people, right? The things that kind of fuel us throughout the day. And especially if you're someone who works from home like me, I've got the water. I sometimes have sometimes coffee on a special day, special occasion. So go there to glowupgirl.com and check out the shop. All right. And if you are not, say you're listening to this and you're not watching us on YouTube, you should go over and check out the YouTube page. We are at Glow Up Girl. So go there, subscribe, please, please leave a comment if you like. And if you're on a platform where you can rate or review the show, please make sure you do so. I so love reading the reviews. All right. Also, if you are sharing any of our social content, make sure you tag us. And lastly, if you have any thoughts, ideas, or people that I should be talking to, make sure you send me an email to hello@glowupgirl.com, or you can send a DM on Instagram. I promise you I'll read it. All right. Well, I think that takes care of everything. I want to definitely thank Pooja again today for sharing her story with us. So I will see you all next week. So until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.